What's going on, everybody? My name is Hunter and welcome back to Point C. If you're new around here, I play a lot of Call of Duty, and this weekend specifically is the Call of Duty Black Ops 6 beta, and I've been playing quite a bit of it, and I just wanted to sit down and give you my perspective from somebody that's been playing Call of Duty for a really long time, and to honestly just break it down and be honest. Is it worth your time? Is it worth your hard-earned money? And what I like to see changed and what's really some good improvements over last year's COD. So I think that it's no secret that last year's COD was pretty decisive with Modern Warfare 3, and we got that game pretty much for 2 years. It was really just an expansion of Modern Warfare 2, and we've all heard this, right? And the thing is that when we heard that Treyarch was going to be making another Black Ops game, there was a lot of conversation about what was going to be changing, because a lot of people enjoy the Treyarch games, and me especially. Treyarch has always been my favorite COD developer, and I was really excited to see what they brought new to the table. I always feel like Treyarch is somebody that isn't afraid to innovate and try something new. And this time around, they did try something new. They tried a couple things new that we're going to talk about, and I think the biggest change that everybody's talking about right now is the Opti movement. Basically, if you haven't seen it, this really makes you feel like you're in the Matrix or you're in Max Payne while you're playing Call of Duty. You can basically dive in the air and you can run in all directions that you please. And right now, here's some gameplay of me really testing it out for the first time. And I'm going to make this clear. I think that it's a good change, and I think that it's really going to add a new skill gap for COD. Especially the last couple years, there really hasn't been much of a skill gap. The skill gap has really been who had the best blueprint, who looked up the TikTok to figure out what the best build was in the gunsmith. And we're going to talk about that a little later on. But really, I do feel that we're actually seeing something that is innovative and is actually going to create a new skill gap for players in the game, right? And this is the thing, is that it's really tough to learn. I figured that out right away, and even during the second day while I'm filming this, I'm still not great at it. I'm getting better with it, but it definitely takes some time getting used to. All the time, I'm constantly going to just go prone, and instead I dive, right? Or I slide, or I do whatever. It's definitely a lot to figure out all at once, and it's a little confusing. But I will give them credit for adding in this training ground. I think that the training ground is a good thing, because the thing is for the more casual player that plays 2 hours a week, yeah, it's going to be a little challenging to pick up. And that's the thing that I want to make clear, is that this is clearly going to be something that is going to make lobbies very, very sweaty. But, even if it is going to make things sweaty, it's going to create a very tough learning curve for players. But personally, I don't necessarily see that as a straight up bad thing. I actually kind of see this as something to help innovate the game a little bit and to create more of a gap between the casual player and the competitive player. The downside of this is, once again, skill-based matchmaking is in the game full force. You can really feel it this time around. Being the beta, there's a lot more sweaty players. It's how betas always work, right? This sweat-based matchmaking is clearly in effect. And the cause of this is really felt because throughout this beta, you're going to see that I'm constantly lagging, right? And this isn't my internet. I have really, really fast internet. What the issue is here is that whenever you look for a game, sometimes it's searching for these games that are 70 ping, 80 ping, 90 ping even. It's like, I should be getting 6 ping, right? That's what I should be getting, is 6 ping with my current connection. But instead, the game is telling me that no, based off of your skill, based off of where you live, we are going to give you these really shitty lobbies with these really high ping. And look, that's never going to change, and it's always going to be a complaint. But, I digress. And I will say, another interesting thing so far about the game has been the map design. So far, we only have 3 maps in this first weekend of the beta. We're getting more next weekend and weekend 2, the free weekend. And I will say that out of the 3 maps, they're decent maps, but I will say Skyline is a standout. We saw it during COD Next. We saw it in the initial trailer. It's a really cool map, and it has a lot of secrets. And I really kind of felt that there's this secret underground area where you can actually activate the security system that affects something on the top penthouse suite. That is so cool. It actually feels like we're getting dynamic maps. And I thought this was really cool. And then I played the other two maps. The other two maps, one of them is in a desert, then the other one is in like a train yard, right? The train yard one is pretty cool because it does have some more dynamic elements to it. There's trains that you can climb on top of the trains, and you can, you can create this sort of more leverage, and you can kind of almost parkour your way around the map. That is cool, but the desert map really feels generic, and it really feels like something straight out of Modern Warfare 2, and that's not a compliment. I hope that we are going to get more maps like Skyline in the full release, or even in Weekend 2. I want more maps that are going to be able to create more dynamic playing field. I don't want these generic feeling maps that feel one-dimensional. Once you play them once or twice, you know them, you understand the flow of the map. That's not what I want. I want something that is more dynamic and can really, really get use out of the Opti movement. And that's something that I think Skyline is doing really well. Skyline has multiple instances where you can use those Opti movements. Those instances where exploring is rewarded in some regard in a COD map, and it really did, and it still felt like a good pace. But in the desert map specifically, it really just feels like a really generic wasteland where not much is, unfortunately, really happening here. It just kind of feels like we're running around in a desert from MW2, and the sights didn't feel good in Domination, and the hardpoint sights were okay, but they just weren't that good. I wanted something more from this map. It's not an awful map, but it doesn't have that Treyarch charm that I was excited for. But one thing that I will say is that this game kind of feels a little bit like Black Ops 1 at times when it comes to how the guns feel and how, the shoot to sprint time feels. A lot of it kind of feels like BO1 a little bit, which is a little odd to say considering that I think a lot of us were kind of expecting something more aligned with BO2. And that's not a bad thing. I think that it's really interesting. But down in this court, I do want to make it clear. If you did not enjoy Cold War, you probably won't enjoy this. It really does feel like a better Cold War. And that's what I will give it credit for. Is Cold War wasn't a bad game, but it really does just feel like a more improved, refined Cold War. It really feels like this is what they wanted Cold War to be, but they couldn't. I mean, obviously, Cold War came out at a weird time for Treyarch and the gaming industry in general. So I think that it was, a real challenge to really find what they really wanted to make. And I think that they're finally getting that with BO6. And I'm excited for that. I'm excited to see what they can do with the full release. Now, another thing is that the class system is going to look a little familiar to old school COD fans. That's what I thought. And then you actually get into it and you realize the gunsmith is back. And I'm so tired of the gunsmith. I want this classic pick 10 system back. I think everybody wants it. I understand why they have the gunsmith, but at the same time, I don't always need to be able to customize my gun to every little specification. Just give me the pick 10 system back. And the unfortunate part of this sort of being that old style a little bit is that calling cards are back. And with there being calling cards back, you can now have attachments again, which I really think hurts the game a lot. I think that it really kind of changes the pace of shit quite a lot, and it's really something unfortunate and something that I don't like that these games have been doing lately, is letting us build these guns that are just insane and that we're really just building the best god gun possible. Go back to TikTok and figure out what the meta is for the week. I don't like that system. And another system that I do want to complain really fast about is the score streak system. So this time around, Treyarch has abandoned that weird system that they had in Cold War that was essentially basically game streaks. I don't remember exactly what they were called, but basically your score throughout the whole game gave you score streaks. It didn't matter if you died, you still carried on with your score streaks. This time around, they abandoned that for the classic score streak system, but it's a little modified, and I don't know how I feel about it. The score streaks felt a little hard to obtain at times, especially in game modes like TDM, which I think this game is really trying to push, like hardpoint and domination. We've kind of been seeing that from like MW2, Cold War, MW3. These games that have really been trying to push, more time in these objective-based game modes, which, okay, cool. But I don't like how hard it kind of felt to get the score streaks at certain times. Especially in TDM, it was like, it would take like 5 or 6 kills, and then I would get my UAV. And especially for somebody that's, been playing COD for years, I would get my 3rd kill expecting my UAV, but no, I don't get it. I have to keep going, and then maybe if I'm lucky, I get the UAV, which I did think was a small issue, I would recommend cranking that down a notch. And yes, there are perks in the game that help with this, which we're going to get to perks in a moment. But, you know, I just think that it would be better if they just turned it down a little bit more and still left that perk in the game, of course, but that's what I would recommend to Treyarch to change. Now, one more thing that I want to talk about when it comes to the perk system really fast is that there's a new system where perks are assigned colors. And how these perk colors work is that if you equip 3 perks of the same color, you get a special attribute. For example, red gives you a little bit more health whenever you kill somebody. Blue, if I'm not mistaken, lets you see blue let you see stuff through walls for a short period of time. And I completely forgot what green did. But I think that's something that's really cool. It once again adds something dynamic to really change it up. Because the thing is once again, you can change this perk class. So if you want your sniping class to be more scout oriented, you can. And I think that's cool that Treyarch is finally realizing that we can sort of fill in roles, right? Battlefield's been doing this for a long time, but Call of Duty is finally sort of dipping their toe into the water to figure out, you know, how we can sort of make this more role-based, which I think is a cool way, because they're not shoving it down your throat. They're letting you decide how you want to play, which I think is a good choice. And, you know, of course, there's classic perks coming back like Ghost, which was changed from MW3 to actually make it where you need to be moving for Ghost to activate. Thank fucking God. And suppressors actually work how they're supposed to in Call of Duty, so no more of this shit where, you know, no matter what, you're not going to pop up in the minimap. You actually need to use a suppressor to hide. Thank you. I really do appreciate that change. And that is one thing that I will say, is that this definitely is going to feel better compared to MW2 and MW3. So far it feels nicer. As long as the map design stays good, I think that we're in for at least a decent year of COD. There's always going to be issues, and I mean, we're not going to go back to that perfect style that we once had, but I'm happy with where we're currently sitting. And of course, another big change for this game has to do with the new meat shield system. So how this works, if you haven't seen it, you can walk up behind an enemy and you can take them as a meat shield. Really cool idea on paper, really cool in execution. What makes it really cool is that they've decided to add in proximity chat, which, let me say, adds a really new fun layer to this system that was, you know, already a really cool idea, and they're just expanding on it. They made something that genuinely feels really fun to do and really fun to experience, and it just really adds a new layer of shit talking that we haven't gotten in the last couple years of COD. I enjoy that we're getting more shit talking back into the game, and it's really cool because, you know, there's already some clips online of people begging for their life. There's some people that are just shit talking, telling people to stop to sweat, all this shit. It's a really fun time, and I'm really glad that they added proximity chat to this feature. I really do think that that was a good addition on Treyarch's end to this new system. But yeah, really overall, I would really just kind of say is that if you're looking for something that's better than MW2 and better than MW3 and you enjoyed Cold War, you'll probably enjoy BO6. I mean, is it as good as older CODs? No, it's not. And I don't think that we're ever going to get another BO2. I don't think that we're ever going to get another BO3. But I think what Treyarch has put down as the foundation, because remember, this is the foundation. This is not the final product. I think that it's really solid so far. And if you're a Game Pass subscriber, come hop in. It's a good time. And thank Christ that it is attached to COD HQ, but it's sort of separate, which I thought was nice when I clicked on it and quickly realized that it's not just another menu pop-up like MW3 is. Instead, it's like its own launcher finally, which I know that's what they've been saying they wanted to do, but it finally actually feels like that, and I think that's a really good change. And also, so far, the menu doesn't feel like new COD, where the new menus feel like I'm looking at Hulu, where it feels like I'm looking at Netflix. It's starting to feel like they're starting to realize people don't like this shit. And I hope that they stick to that when the full game launches. But anyway, I just wanted to sit down and talk a little bit about what's been going on with COD, and I'm really kind of enjoying it right now. And I hope that you decide to hop in and at least give it a shot if you're a Game Pass subscriber. Honestly, to be honest, if you are not a Game Pass subscriber, don't spend $70. Just wait until next weekend, experience it then, and then if you really like it, then I'd say jump on the pre-order, because I think that it is going to be a good game, especially with how Zombies is looking, campaign's looking good, everything is looking good for this game. But once again, if you haven't already, don't jump on the pre-order immediately. If you're a Game Pass subscriber, absolutely hop in and play. But I would wait until next weekend. Unless you really, really like Cold War, then sure, yeah, pre-order it. But anyways, ladies and gentlemen, thank you all so much for watching. Once again, if you are interested in more content like this, please hit that like button. Please hit that subscribe button. It helps out a lot. It lets us know that you guys are enjoying the content and you guys want to see more stuff like this. Anyways, I'm going to go back and play some more BO6 Beta. Anyways, have a good rest of your day. Peace.